Alright, ni siku nyingine tena, wiki nyingine mpya. Karibu sana kwenye Morning Cafe hapa TV47. Hapa ndipo karibu sana. Jina langu ni Freddy Ndimuli Wambaji.
Jina langu ni Stanley Nyaringita. Tarehe ya 7 mwezi wa Oktoba ni tarehe ambayo wengi watakumbuka. This particular day is when Hamas invaded Israel. 1 year later it has changed so many things in the world and even in Kenya. People living and who travel to that particular place in Israel, in Palestine, they have had to again come back to Kenya or are stranded there. Back at home, this particular day, it's 24 hours to when Kenyans are looking at the National Assembly and waiting for the man, Deputy President Gachagua.
It is going to be a very busy political week in Kenya. Yes, as you said, in slightly more than 24 hours, but less than 48 hours, the National Assembly is set to impeach the Deputy President. So it is a big discussion across all dailies. It is one of those that we'll be talking about with our panelists this morning on State of the Nation. The big panel this morning, Philip Kisia, Ruto Kirwa, Honorable Dr. Mumbingaru, and Samuel Pogisio will be in studio just to help us understand, hii maneno itafika wapi?
Definitely. And speaking of time, by the way, it's again, I think, 48 hours when Uganda will be marking their Independence Day. Yes, on the 9th of this particular month.
And then 10th, tukuje tupewe holiday. Kuna holiday this week. Something to look forward to.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is about to be a very busy week, so buckle up for that. Karibu sana to Morning Cafe. Later on.
Unajua, it's been a busy weekend.
Yes.
Kuna team hazifai kuongea. That's why I'm saying, I know you have nothing to say.
I have nothing to say.
Of course, there are teams that are sitting pretty. Teams like Arsenal, the great Arsenal, beating Southampton 3-1 on Saturday. Thrilling football tournament there. Liverpool, Man City also doing well.
Yeah.
So, yes, but kuna teams zingine ziko. Yes,
Liverpool
top of the table.
Liverpool at the top of the table. No one is really, talking about them. Hakuna buzz nyingi. But then, for the question of the day, for Monday Blitz this particular day, is will Erik ten Hag survive as the Manchester United manager? They're going for an international break. Wakirudi, je, Ten Hag ndio atakuwa manager bado?
All right.
Yes.
Shutterboy and Fred Arocho will be in studio for that discussion alongside...
Pardon me, yes, Sami Kempes Owino, FKF presidential aspirant. By the way, I had said that it's going to be a busy week. Now, on the 10th of this particular month, which is on Thursday, the FKF electoral body, which is the new one now, is going to be releasing the eligible list of the presidential aspirants for Football Kenya Federation.
Right.
So this is going to be very keen. So because we're going to be seeing who is going to be on this list. Is the outgoing FKF president, Nick Mwendwa, going to be on this list? Are you going to be seeing some of these key notable names? Sami Kempes, but there was a former ex-midfielder, Harambee Stars. Yes, so ni watu wamechezea hii nchi and they understand what it takes.
All right. After that, Daring Abroad, another conversation there with Professor Regina Callion and Simiyu Paul. So do stand by for that as well later on to wrap it up for us. But a quick look at the dailies this morning, and we start off with a Star revealed how DP meddled in 3.7 billion shilling tender. This headline coming less than 48 hours before his impeachment. This is Kuna Vienye. That's the Star on the People Daily.
Still on matters how cash is just being scanned in a tupo kunja, some inside AFCON cash scandal. The fact that People Daily went with some sports headline. It's very rare, by the way.
This is very rare.
Sports
on such a political week for them to go with this. But anyway, it is different from the People Daily. We'll be back to take a look at more. On the Standard this morning, Ruto locks out his friends. Another very interesting political headline.
As Gachagua pleads for forgiveness.
So this one is talking about not just the deputy president, but other very close allies who've been getting unfettered access to State House. Wendio nani? Toa ID.
Toa ID. Toa Bladder's new group what?
Gachagua atubu. And boss.
And this is interesting because I think was it on Friday ama ilikuwa ni Thursday ndio alikuwa na ile picha ya akiangalia mountain
mikono ikiwa juu
sahi
mikono imeteremka kidogo
sahi anaangalia sasa watu wanasema pole basi
mimi sina ubaya
si pole basi
gazeti la Taifa Leo kwenye Daily Nation
Gachagua's last options.
Yes.
You can read from his face the facial expressions. We're going to be looking at them tomorrow. We're going to be seeing some of this. I remember on Fridays, the Gen Z telling me that on Tuesday, we're going to be seeing a crying man. We're going to see a man who is sorrowful as he talks to the members of parliament for the 2 hours.
What I know is that tomorrow people will be watching parliamentary sessions in a car movie. Ni kama series.
Una popcorn
nini chai hautaki kuhata. On the Business Daily, Treasury boss declines a U.S. envoy job amid Adani deals. It's so lucrative, I'm
telling you, this guy was appointed back in 8th of March. 6 months later, haja report kwa ofisi.
Atoki hapa.
Na akona state jobs mbili. Na kuna watu wanatafuta job.
That's a Business Daily.
We'll be back to tell you about that.
Let's take a look at what's headlining in the region. And on the East African, they say Somalia mission sponsors differ on Egypt's entry. You know, Egypt has actually donated a lot of military artillery to Somalia. So Egyptian troops joining AUSOM at the expense of Ethiopia escalates Horn tensions and is a slap in face of Addis forces who for long stood by Somalia, because even Addis Ababa has donated. I remember AMISOM, Uganda, Kenya, Rwanda, so many people have sent their soldiers there, including Ethiopia. So and now they're sitting there and watching Egypt bringing to fight Ethiopia. So
maneno.
Some of Mombasa's lost Dar's headache. This is something else. Kenyan port has lost 17% cargo to Tanzania, but now Dar es Salaam has to deal with a pile-up and delays, much to the chagrin of clients. Mulipeleka biashara kwa jirani na hawezani. Interesting there. And East Africans in Middle East seek help. That's another big story, of course, with what's happening in the Middle East. Yes. So that's as far as the East African is concerned. Let's take a look at the individual countries, and we start off with Uganda.
Now listen to this. You remember back at some recent months, you talk about how Uganda is preparing this whole statistics na kufanya survey. It was, I think they're doing it on a Saturday, and they were telling people, kaeni nyumbani, tunakuja kwenu. And guys wanauliza, if you're going to party and all that. And then months later, apparently, data in Yonaeka is false according to the people. So they're saying the Uganda Bureau of Statistics pulled down the 2024 census report from its website following public outcry over contradicting population figures, which were released on Thursday. Remember us taking a look at it, and this paper had the whole religion angle that strongly showed the population of Acholi as dropping from 2.1 million to 1.9 million. Well, it's displayed the Bagiso population is falling from 2.3 million to 2.0 million.
Hii ni tribal politics serious sana. Unasema ati watu wamepungua, watu wa community yetu ndo si tunawezana tuongeze, alafu nyinyi mnakuja kusema tumepungua. So the Acholi and the Bagiso are happy names. Wanasema hapana, hizo numbers sio zetu.
So will they have to recount or will they have to?
I remember in Kenya there was something similar with the last census, where communities from the northeastern region complained that their numbers were much less than what they had. 2019.
Oh, okay.
2019.
Okay.
Yes. So very interesting. Matters to do with census. On the new vision, still in Uganda, 580,000 ghost learners found in government schools. 580,000. You see pesa ati tuseme it's Ugandan money.
This is half a mil.
More than half a million.
Yes.
Ghost students.
Now just imagine, if this was such a survey was to be done in Kenya, do you think we will have less or more than 580,000?
I'm not so sure, but I know a number of ghost schools in Kenya are there. About ghost students, I don't know. But it's interesting. Full list of districts with fake students inside. You can get yourself a copy of the new vision. Wangalini ni wapi wanadanganyana zaidi.
Okay.
All right. Tuvuke boda tuingie Bongo na tuanze na gazeti la Habari Leo. Sema watumishi 8 wako matatani, ubadhirifu Kigamboni. Masuala ya corruption and fraud in government offices, making it to the front page of Habari Leo. Kwingineko uwekezaji wa Japan wafikia trilioni 1.2, lakini pesa za Tanzania hizi. Habari zile zilizopewa kipaumbele kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Habari Leo. Mtoto okolewa kwenye basi akipelekwa Dar. And you remember the story about the safety of children in Tanzania, yes. So bado inapewa kipaumbele kwenye kurasa za mbele za magazeti ya Tanzania.
Yes.
Na mwishowe
Daily News, quite a very busy, about 1 million stories on this one. But the big one, I think it was the same conversation still on Habari Leo. Embezzlers face music. Pictured there, Prime Minister Kassim Majaliwa has ordered the arrest of 4 senior officials of the Kigamboni Municipal Council and other 4 employees from the Treasury Single Account Unit, President's Office of the Regional Administration and Local Governments, of allegation of embezzling, get this, 165.6 million. Those Tanzanian shillings.
Yes.
We should be seeing some of these headlines in Kenya. You know, in Kenya, unaonanga, the Auditor General amepeana report. Akasema this is a scandal.
Alafu yendo
But later,
mwisho
yeah,
that's the end of it.
There's no follow-up on saying these are the people who are involved in this scandal.
I can't remember the last time niliona any suspect of fraud or grand corruption in court. In fact, the latest news is that there's another case that is the ODPP is looking to withdraw. Matters corruption in Kenya. Well, so those are the dailies in the region. We'll be back to take a look at the local dailies shortly, in depth. For now, let's take a look at the weather situation. And Nyaringita imeenda sasa imeenda.
Guza ukaipoteza, but then, okay, ukinisaidia kutafuta leo.
Acha nikutafutie hii ukiendelea maswali.
Real quick tell you what is going to be happening today in a news diary. Obviously, it is going to be a packed day. 24 hours to the impeachment motion at the National Assembly. A lot of activity is going to be happening, and then for today in Naivasha, you're going to be seeing the SACCO's parastatal conference happening in Naivasha starting today all the way to Wednesday. Our Naivasha reporter tells us that President William Ruto might just be in Naivasha tomorrow. So, well, he's in Naivasha, he's DP atakuwa bunge. Kenya leader Martha Karua is going to be expected to address the nation on matters state importance. So it's going to be some interesting sound bites from her. Wait to see what she's going to be saying on that. To weather now, we start off with the Lake region. It feels like 24, but it's 19 degrees. Kuna mvua leo.
The difference ni kubwa sana. Feels like 24.
Lakini the temperatures in Kisumu are quite high this particular morning. We do expect some light showers into the evening. Let's go to Nairobi County 047. It's cloudy into the morning. Expect light showers getting into the day from some 2 millimeters. Yeah, that's light showers.
Light showers.
From mid-morning all the way. So, chance yenye utaona jua ni asubuhi peke yake. After that,
it promises to be a dull day.
Yes. Monday blooms. This should be Kitui. Kitui is going to be some light showers, ile manyunyu kidogo ya asubuhi, but then after that 0 millimeters.
Ni kidogo sana.
Kidogo sana. After that itakuwa very very warm, and to the lake coast region, Kilifi feels like 27. And sasa in ile
holiday weather.
80 how many days to Christmas?
It's less than 78 around there.
All right. And sasa wameanza countdown vizuri. The highest temperatures are going to be seeing today is 30. 0 millimeters. Chances of raining today in that area quite low. And finally, to the Rift Valley region. In Eldoret, 13 degrees right now. They say it feels like 14. Up to mid-morning, it's going to be about 22 degrees. But then, kuendelea huko, you'll be needing your umbrella. Because 6.3 millimeters, this is the highest we've seen.
Yes, this is the highest. I think even in Kisumu, it's about 5.5 millimeters of rain. So I think in Eldoret, they're going to receive probably the highest rainfall that we've seen so far.
So jihami na hiyo umbrella. Yes.
So that is as far as the weather is concerned. You've given us the day's diary. Do we have today in history?
October 1991. On this day, Kenya's first multi-party elections were held after a long period of one-party rule. This was a significant moment in the country's political history, marking the beginning of a new era of political pluralism. The elections allowed for multiple political parties to participate, leading to increased political competition and a shift toward a more democratic governance structure. The results of these elections played a crucial role in shaping Kenya's contemporary political landscape.
Alright, turejelee nyumbani tuangalie magazeti ya hapa nyumbani na tunaanza na The Star.
Because smart people read The Star.
Yes. So this is less than 48 hours before the Deputy President actually presents himself, if at all he will,
Yes.
before the National Assembly at 5 p.m. tomorrow to try and defend himself. But then we see this headline on the front page of The Star. Revealed how DP meddled in 3.7 billion shilling tender. And this is, I think, for him, very ill-timed.
Yes.
So they say Gachagua also accused of interfering with city evictions. Ex-KEMSA CEO claims Rigathi forced him to alter procurement for malaria nets. And this could just be one of the witnesses who will be called in to testify before the National Assembly on this impeachment against the Deputy President. There are two contrasting images there, not really contrasting, but juxtaposing against each other. One, the Deputy President in church at the DP's residence. They have an altar there.
He was there with the family.
With his family there. And meanwhile, the President was at AIC Milimani with the First Lady. They also attended church service. And I saw someone commenting about how many empty seats were there in church.
I was actually about to say that. I mean, just with the photo,
Yes.
you can definitely see. You'd expect.
Waumini walienda wapi? Ama waliambiwa kuna mgeni mkubwa wakasema leo tutaangalia kwa TV. That's a big headline on the front page. Matters regarding Gachagua and that apology he made. Cowed Gachagua tells Ruto, please forgive me if I wronged you or if I have wronged you. And many people are now debating about this word if.
If.
And the use of if. Unasema sipole basi.
Exactly.
Kama nilikukosea. Mimi sijui.
In Gen Z lingo, that's sipole bas.
Sipole basi. Okay. So other quick highlights on the front page of The Star, how I created media empire from scratch. Elsewhere, reign of terror as gangs overrun Kisumu estates. And finally, state to refund patients affected by shift rollout. Wow, that's interesting. Will they do it?
Yes.
They should. Many people are complaining. Watu wametumia cash bana. Na walikuwa wamelipa NHIF.
But you see, Fred, dating back to time floods, the government said that we will refund, we'll give you guys money, but then now guys, Storia, how much are you giving us? And follow up later on. Utatupatia, if I owe you 1,000, I'll give you, shika 200, I'll give you 800 baadaye.
You remember there's a time some families were to get 10,000 bob because they had been evicted probably.
Yes.
Or displaced by floods.
Yes.
Hiyo pesa hili tokelezea haijafika.
Who exactly are you going to say, patie your pesa? Who exactly are you going to ask for that money?
Wow. Tuangalizie People Daily hapa.
Yes. People Daily going with a very interesting sports headline today. Inside AFCON, that is the Africa Cup of Nations cash scandal. They call it a dubious spending, 1 billion for consultancy services for AFCON Stadia, 1.5 billion cash links design feasibility studies for constituency sports academies, 1.3 billion for Kenya Academy of Sports Complex at Kasarani, 424 million for construction of hostel and gate, 3.1 billion to renovate Kasarani Stadium.
3.1 billion to renovate Kasarani Stadium.
Now get this, next week, Kenya is playing Cameroon and it's playing in Uganda in closed doors. Why are we playing in Uganda? Because we don't have a stadium.
It's only 3 years away, and you're supposed to be hosting 2027 AFCON jointly with Uganda and Tanzania.
And when you look at how Uganda is doing things and how Tanzania are doing things, we're great. Well, Kenya might just be one of those. This is to let down.
And you see, this is actually money that has been spent.
Yes.
So ministry sunk billions into consultancies and construction of facilities, but there is little on the ground to show for it. We still don't have a stadium, but they spent 3.1 billion to renovate Kasarani.
Wow.
In Kenya.
Ni confusion yenye piko kwa shapia.
Patients to be refunded. Yes, so at least we saw that there.
Yes.
Gachagua hot under the collars, impeachment beckons, makes it to the front page of the People Daily as well. So it's interesting there.
So le mapenzi kwenye Monday.
Yeah, maswala ya mapenzi hapa. I fear my lover might go back to his ex-wife. Hiyo ni gazeti, sio sisi tumesema.
Anyway.
On the Standard.
Speaking of lovers and political lovers, Ruto locks out estranged political lovers. Ruto locks out his friends. He said, rattled by recent political events in the country, President William Ruto, previously an open and affable leader, is tightening control, enforcing strict access protocols, and reshuffling long-serving staff. Allies now need permission to see him. Ilikuwa tunasema ID number yako ni gani? Blood group yako ni gani?
Hapa wengi leo.
Ni hapa.
Wamejaa. This place is full.
Wewe unatoka wapi? Haujulikani.
So Ruto locks out his friends as Gachagua pleads for forgiveness.
Yes.
So that's how the stories are lined up on the front page of the Standard. Of course, this is the biggest discussion. The forgiveness he's asking for less than 48 hours before his pending impeachment. Unajua alikuwa 291, tuseme tu nikaa imeenda. Unless something happens today. Yes. You never know. A day in politics is a very long day.
Tumeanza kuona with a number of MPs backing out and
lakini wanaongea tu. Kwa sure wale mimi naogopa sana. TSC in radical shuffle of its top officials. That's another headline on the front page. Morale job cuts impede tax collection. Matters KRA. Unakata watu mshahara lakini pesa unaambia collect. Why October 7 unnerves Israel leaders? Yes. Because of that, that's when Hamas attacked Israel. And Manu,
militant group.
Finally, Manu mmepata nini hapa, a mention on the front page of the Standard. Manu Chelsea failed to grab 3 points.
It's a negative
failure.
Yes.
Gachagua tubu ndio habari kuu pale kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Taifa Leo.
Nasema ni majuto hayo. Naibu rais aonekana mwenye mnyenyekevu akiomba Rais Ruto, wabunge na Wakenya kwa jumla msamaha. Wingi wa wabunge wanaoegemea upande wa rais na ODM unaweza kumzidia nguvu katika kura ya kumng'oa kitini kesho.
Masuala mengine hapa, vidokezo zaidi, serikali haitadhibiti makanisa, na ini rais alisema. That debate about whether or not we're going to venture into regulating churches, rais amesema huko hatuguzi. And he said it in church yesterday. Hiyo self-regulations mujaribu vile mtajisort. We are not interested. It's a very dicey place to get into.
This even as we have had Shakahola, Hora, that church, this pastor from somewhere in Central, I don't know if it was Muranga, and we're still having the president himself.
So what happens to that bill by Danson Mungatana, the senator? Yeah. It's already before the Senate, then the president pronounces himself on this matter. You know, even if it passes through Parliament, he still has to assent to it.
Yes. So he has already put his voice on it.
Maswala ya sport wanasema farasi ni watatu EPL. Farasi ni watatu, wengine ni punda na mbuzi.
Hawajasema hivyo.
Sijui kama wewe Man United nyinyi ni mpunda ama mbuzi, lakini farasi ni watatu.
Ongeza maneno yako.
Farasi ni watatu. All right, and finally on the Daily Nation.
Yes, Gachagua's last options. Please forgive me in bold. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua yesterday made an impassioned plea for forgiveness, even as his team sought ways of fighting the impeachment motion against him. With MPs expected to vote on the matter tomorrow, the big question right now is, will President Ruto play his hand and save his embattled DP?
Another very interesting story, and we're going to be looking at this with my panelists, how public hearings on Ouster motion turned against Ruto.
Yes.
Everything was going on smoothly.
Yes.
Ilikuwa Rigathi must go, Rigathi must go. Ikakuwa kufa dereva, kufa makanga. By the way, that was a chant, that was a trending hashtag, and I think it is still trending even now.
From Friday, the sound bites that we were listening to from different parts of the country, guys were like, if this person is going, then this person should also go.
Yes, so that's a big discussion.
Yes, they also continue the report that they had on Friday as well, cast of the deputies. where you are roasting me for only knowing two of the deputies.
Did you know that Mwai Kibaki was once a vice president?
He is.
Mwai Kibaki's troubled tenure as Moi's VP. Very interesting there. This is the Daily Nation. And finally, matters business. Treasury boss declines U.S. envoy job amid Adani deals.
Yes.
So it's very lucrative staying back home. It's more interesting.
Kuliko kutumwa huko
Unaenda
States.
US kufanya nini? Watu wengine wanang'ang'ana kutafuta green card ya kwenda US.
Yes.
Unapewa job ya diplomat sasa hapana. Hapa stoki. Kirigu cites unfavorable terms for declining post, role in the spotlight in the wake of Adani's JKIA proposal. All right. And
Yes,
gated communities denied approval rights in Tatu City Rao.
Yes.
Matters business. So yes, I think our time is running out fast, so we take a look at the cartoons before we wrap up this newspaper review this morning. We start off with the Standard, and the Standard today talks about the COG elections. The Council of Governors, Anne Waiguru's term comes to a close this month. So the governors are expected to meet somewhere and elect a new chair. So quite a number of people have expressed interest. One of them is the Kajiado governor, Joseph Olelenku.
Yeah.
And we see here this cartoon showing, you know, these fat cats and what they signify and represent. So they appear to be the ones propping up Joseph Olelenku, according to the cartoonists, not me, for the seat. Na kuna pesa pale chini hapo chini ya kiti.
I'm wondering why the cartoonist decided to have the chef's hat.
Because this is his line of expertise.
Oh.
Before he even became interior CS, he was actually poached from Utalii College.
Oh, right.
Yes, so he's an expert in matters of hospitality.
So I think it's COG and he'll cook. Nicely.
Interesting, that's a standard.
Some numbers there. This is Daily Nation, and they go with what was happening on Friday as well as Saturday, the public participation. Did you participate in the public participation, both electronically as well as physically? They have a whole long queue, but then the MPIG, you and I both know what the MPIG represents.
Akona preferred opinion.
Pale nyuma.
Yeah, shall make decision yake. Nyi ongeeni whatever you want to say. Mimi nishaamua.
Hapo ni rubbish. Recycled.
Yeah, the recycle akona yake hapa tayari. Preferred opinion. So, and the question is the consequentiality or the necessity of public participation.
Yes.
The other question is, how do you even quantify or weight or calibrate the results of the process of public participation?
Yes.
That's a big question.
Quality versus quantity.
Munaweza kuwa wengi mulisema lakini MP hao watasema sawa, mulisema kura ni yangu.
The places they were actually
counting the forms, but that is there's nothing like that. It's not provided for. Those forms are not even serialized.
Because on that day, on Friday, guys were wondering, is this a referendum? Because guys were literally saying, I want the original copy, the one that has the blue, seal and everything. Ingine ni photocopy, mimi sitaki hii.
Either way,
it was so confusing.
Yes, that confusion about whether your public participation or your views will really matter.
Yes.
Finally, hata ini public participation ingine.
In the People Daily.
Unaulizwa directly, this is the People Daily.
Yes.
So what's your opinion on Gachagua's impeachment? Anajibu, me, I want food.
Employment, security, hospitals, schools, booming economy, affordable life. Hiyo maneno ingine.
Hiyo ingine ni yenu.
Hiyo ingine.
Public participation.
Yes.
So we'll be looking at some of this and a lot more with my panelists after the break. I'd already introduced them. I'll introduce them again. So do stand by for that conversation. And remember, Monday Blitz coming up at 8 a.m. Matter Sports. Ilikuwa weekendi moto sana. So do stand by for that as well. You can be part of this conversation.
Yes, and then later on, you talk about going to the States. In case you're a Kenyan nurse and you're probably interested in going to the States, to the United Kingdom, to a European country and, honing your craft there, stick around for this conversation between 9:30 to 10. It's going to be one interesting one. Yes.
All right. Let's take a break now. You're watching Morning Cafe. We'll be right back.
Hey there, friends! Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Hey there,
All right, welcome back. You're watching Morning Cafe. It is that time to take a look at the headlines on the dailies this morning. This is Morning Cafe on TV 47. My name is Fred Indemuli. Good morning once again. Gachagua's last options is a top story on the front page of the Daily Nation. On the Standard, mention of Gachagua, Ruto locks out his friends as Gachagua pleads for forgiveness. On the People Daily, they talk about matters football, AFCON, inside AFCON cash scandal, but still mention of the Deputy President, Gachagua hot under the collar as impeachment beckons. It is also there on the front page of the Star. Cowed Gachagua tells Ruto, please forgive me if I have wronged you. Meanwhile, the Star goes with a big headline, revealed how DP meddled in 3.7 billion shilling tender. Now, this is less than 48 hours before members of the National Assembly actually vote to decide whether or not they are going to impeach the Deputy President. It is the biggest discussion today and definitely this week. Allow me to introduce my panelists this morning. Dr. Mumbingaru, who has served as a member of the East Africa Legislative Assembly, and before that served as mayor of Thika Town. Karibu sana.
Asante sana, good morning.
Next to Dr. Mumbingaru, we have leadership and governance expert Philip Kisia, who has also served as a town clerk of this great city of Nairobi. Karibu sana, Bwana Kisia.
Thank you.
Last but not least, Samuel Pogisio, who served as ICT Minister in the Kibaki II administration and also served as Senate Majority Leader. Remember, once the National Assembly is done with the impeachment motion, it moves to the Senate, where the Senate will preside over more or less a quasi-judicial process of trying the Deputy President. So let's talk about this forgiveness that the Deputy President is asking for, and we start off with this story filed by our reporter at TV 47.
On any other Sunday, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua would have been on an ordinary church service. So is his wife, Pastor Dorcas Rigathi, who is frequent at the House of Grace Church in Nairobi.
In such a moment,
but Sunday morning, the second family opted to host a Sunday service at his official residence in Karen, Nairobi, with his staff, his allies, and a group of church leaders. During this service, his message to his boss, President William Ruto, was clear. Please forgive me.
So my brother, President William Ruto, if in our zeal to work, I have wronged you, please find it in your heart to forgive me.
Gachagua claimed he was just thanking people who had supported him and President William Ruto to clinch power in 2022, disregarding claims that he violated National Cohesion and Integration Act.
And probably you find that in appreciating our people and the support they give the President and I, probably our utterances made you feel uncomfortable. We did not mean bad. We were simply appreciating the people who voted for us.
The impeachment motion, which seeks to remove Gachagua from office due to what its proponents claim is flagrant misbehavior and a breach of the Constitution, was filed in Parliament by Kibwezi West MP Mwengi Mutuse on Tuesday. The Deputy President also begged for pardon on behalf of his wife Dorcas Rigathi, who bemoaned being drawn into his political concerns and having her privacy violated by remarks made in public and on social media.
My spouse, in her duties for the boy child and her program, has wronged you in any way. Find it in your heart to forgive her.
When the peace of God is established up there, the peace of God is established here. So what you don't see is bigger than what you see.
In the last 5 days, Gachagua has been missing in action. Since ascending to power, this was the first time Gachagua appeared in public with his family members, including his two sons, who he defended against acquisition of Outspan and Treetops Lodge in November 2023. Regardless of his sincere apology to his boss and members of parliament, all eyes now shift to this august house on Tuesday as legislators gears up to disintegrate his kingdom, even as he aligned a bunch of lawyers to defend the charges against simu. Mike Kagwango, TV47, Parliament Buildings, Nairobi.
Yes, please forgive me. That was the biggest discussion online yesterday. Everyone making their own assessment of what this apology meant. There was a lot of discussion even around the use of words, including the word if. Please forgive me if I have wronged you. But let's talk about this, Dr. Ngaru. Coming the very last Sunday and during a church service held at the official residence of the Deputy President, only hours, about 48 hours before his pending impeachment, many people are wondering, okay, is it a goodbye? And whether or not such an apology actually has any impact, if at all, or was it even necessary at this point?
Good morning, Fred.
Good morning.
I hope you had a good weekend.
Yes, I did.
I have taught myself many times not to be drawn by the headlines and what people say. I did watch that service, and he apologized to many people, not only the president. So I get suspicious when that one of just somebody who the president bid is picked. Last week, when we were here, I did tell you that what had run from the ground is that the DP is very strong on the ground. And I have continued to listen to the ground. And if you ask my opinion, is that maybe, not if, maybe, the script is not coming out the way it was expected. Somebody had hoped to place the DP in a corner, and that's where the word ifs, from where I see it, I can pick it from there. It has turned out that in many counties, it's not now about the DP. There's something they're using, kufa makanga, kufa dereva. So it's now for both. And I think he has also come to terms that he has to tame his warrior spirit. And probably that drove him to the apology. It's a good thing to apologize. From where I sit, it shows that he is reflecting on the journey they have taken, the two of them. Whether it is genuine or not, it's not my docket, but I've had a firm, from the ground. It's not just him.
Okay.
It's a pact, and if one has to go, let all of them go. That puts the members of parliament in a catch-22 because they were facilitated. I don't know whether they are going to discuss the motion or they're just going to vote. But I have also heard from the ground, many of them walking backwards to listen to what the ground is saying. But I'm still saddened that the participation that was done
We'll come back to that issue of public participation. I want us to focus more on this apology. And for a politician to come out and apologize, he or she must be hoping that this apology will have some kind of result. What kind of impact would the Deputy President be hoping his apology would have? Because it must be out of necessity that he came out to apologize.
Fred, good morning.
Morning.
I don't know what apology we're talking about here. There is no apology that has been extended by the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, Awan Rigiji. Because when you use the word if is conditional. You are doubting whether you actually did anything that deserves an apology. So, as far as I'm concerned, one, Godfrey Rigathi Gachagua has not apologized, and in his own understanding, there's nothing wrong he has done that requires him to apologize. I heard him talk about, if I have offended the president, my brother, he is now a brother, I ask for apologies. If I have offended in my zeal to perform my duties, other communities felt that, I crossed the line, So as far as I'm concerned, there is no apology that has been extended. And in his own view, I think you are causing a lot of unnecessary heat that is not necessary. I think he has bigger things to deal with, and he would rather focus on the bigger picture. But I think, for me, it's not even about the apology, Fred, if you ask me. The bigger picture, because we are now dwelling on a minor issue, an apology. We are past an apology. If there was an apology to be given, it should have been given before this motion was actually placed before the House.
You don't see it moving anyone in any direction.
How? First of all, he has not even apologized. Secondly, his apology, if any, is conditional. So for me, we've already crossed the line. The horse has already bolted. It's there. The elephant is already in the room. There's no point holding the tail. It is just too late. Let us look at the bigger picture. There's a motion that had been prepared by one Mwengi, I think the MP for Kibwezi West. And of course, he invoked Article 144, 145. So the motion is properly before the House. But what was interesting this weekend, very interesting, two things in my view. Number one is that the motion as prepared by the MP and Parliament now went back to the people of the Republic of Kenya. The people. And the people of the Republic of Kenya hold the sovereign power under Article 1. Again, if you look at Article 2, the document is supreme. There's no other document that we refer to, the supreme document. Number 3, Article 3, who has a responsibility of defending that constitution? If you read those 3 articles, you'll discover that the powers to do anything are with the people of the Republic of Kenya. Now, what is interesting? What is interesting is that when that motion was presented to the people of Kenya, they amended it. They amended the motion, and they say it's not about Rigathi Gachagua. Because we have the sovereign power, we are now saying that one William Arap Samoei Ruto and Rigiji is amended.
We will challenge that.
The motion has been amended
because if you look at the cartoons,
Fred, the people of Kenya have invoked Article 1.
Okay, we'll be back to discuss. We will be back to discuss that issue about public participation because it's a hot, thorny issue as well, and whether or not it is actually going to be of any consequence. We will look at that.
Consequence.
But
it has been invoked by the people.
Let's finish up with this issue of the apology. The Deputy President, Bonapogisio, must be hoping that that kind of somber mood he portrayed to the public yesterday as he made that apology will, in one way or the other, move or change the feelings towards him. He may not be able to move the members of the National Assembly who have already supported this motion of his impeachment, but even according to the Daily Nation, there on the main headline, there's a writer. They say the DP and his allies fancy his chances are better at the sober and more objective Senate. You've been a majority leader in the Senate. Do you think that such an apology could move to some extent and appeal to the more sober and more objective Senate and maybe change the way they view the Deputy President even before the motion gets to the House?
Fred, first of all, the situation that the DP is in would demand that you try whatever is left, option is left, to sort out this matter. The noose is tightening on him, and it's like he knows his fate accomplished, actually. People have decided he's going to have to be impeached in Parliament and so on. But then there's one person who has been so quiet about the whole thing, and that's the president. And I think he knows that on a Sunday, the president would be worshiping somewhere. It's a religious man. And so he made his own church on the compound and controlled his environment to make sure that he had the chance to actually apologize. This thing was completely choreographed in such a way that he had an opportunity to come out clearly to apologize. Now, as my brother here said, apology is neither here nor there. Is it a real apology? I don't think it is a real apology. Why? Because when you are in a crisis like this, what you say can be used against you in the trial, can be used against you in the case before Parliament. So you have to be very careful not to acknowledge that you have wronged, at the same time to acknowledge that your heart is ready for forgiveness. But surely, how much can you say? And some people say he gave a conditional, but how much can you say about the things? Can you actually say, I have done this, I'm wrong, I've done? No. So basically he is in that English language, this situation where he leaves it to interpretation. If I have wronged you, find it in your heart to forgive. And he was hoping to appeal to a man in church who is religious, who would understand the whole purpose of forgiveness and cleansing. Now, here is a problem with forgiveness and apologies, whatever it is. It has not become part of the grounds or part of the case at all. So even if you went to court and say, no, you're going to be charged, and then you say, I apologize, and you haven't said that you didn't plead guilty, it doesn't help you at all. But what are you apologizing for? So my situation with him is that he has tried his best to make sure that he covers everything, including looking humble enough to be able to apologize. And he apologized to Kenyans as well. He apologized to Parliament as well, which is going to be his courtroom session from tomorrow. So I do feel for him, but the whole thing is, if you are in his situation, and I'm probably thinking this is Pastor Dorcas prompting, say, hey, today we are going to have church here at home, and we are going to just give an opportunity to apologize to the president. The president has refused to say anything. He's been so quiet about this thing. So how do you get to him? This is the only chance to get to him. So I do hope that the president heard him. And by the way, it is only the president who can save the situation.
Okay.
Parliament, things have gone so far.
Not even in the Senate. Don't you think that probably an apology, or if the Senate would look at him in a different light, it could be a saving grace?
No. You see, once you've been impeached by one house, you can only pray that the numbers in the other house don't add up. But an apology is not going to help you with anyone, because if this first house didn't forgive you, your apology can't touch people in the other house. It's a bit difficult, because emotions are not necessarily going to help in this thing. But he will have cleared his heart. And I think what the deputy president is saying is that I will have cleared my heart, that I did apologize to Kenyans, It may not be intended for the purpose of clearing him of the charges, but at least that he has cleared his heart and proved that he is not only a truthful man, but he also is a humble man. And one of the things that have been chasing him throughout has been that he has not apologized. Some people were saying he should just apologize. And this was last week. This was weeks before. But now when the days were ending yesterday, because the days really ended yesterday, from today you can't interfere or do anything. And so he came out and said, if, the conditional if, you know what in the English language would be called the second conditional, is if, and I don't, it can mean if and I don't believe, you know, it is, but if. So if you interpret the syntax, if you interpret the meaning of it, you might think he says, I apologize if, and I don't believe I have, but if. So I do hope that in his heart he has cleared himself. He goes to the cross, as it were, a man who has forgiven himself. It was purposely for him to forgive himself and his friends and so on. So I don't think the president listened to it. He may have heard it, but the president was also in charge and could have also spoken about forgiveness in church, but no, he went on to speak about another subject.
All right, this forgiveness that all the dailies are talking about, the deputy president came out yesterday to ask for forgiveness, not just from the president, but from so many other people and entities. And there were so many reactions to this apology. Even as we go on a break, I think we can have a minute or two to listen to just some of the reactions from different people about the deputy president's apology yesterday. All right. If we don't have it ready, we could just go on and move into the break so that when we come back, we'll take a look at matters to do with public participation and what really happened and how necessary or consequential was it. You're watching Morning Cafe.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m.
Even after making an apology, a section of leaders from his bucket of Mount Kenya region are still calling for the impeachment of Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. In Kajiado County, leaders led by Mbeere North Member of Parliament Geoffrey Ruto reiterated that the current stalemate has derailed development and should be dispensed as quick as possible to give the president a humble time to work for the people.
Kama wewe ni kiongozi wa kitaifa, jukumu lako la kikatiba ni kuleta viongozi na wananchi wote wa Kenya wajisikie huru na wasikie wakiwa nyumbani katika kona yoyote ile ya nchi yetu ya Kenya.
They spoke on a day that DP Gachagua and his allies were in his current residence for the Sunday. His opponents feel that Parliament should deal with leaders who divide the country on ethnic lines, urging for the church to pray for the president and the country and accusing Gachagua of division.
Tungeomba tu murudi pamoja pale, todo kutengana kwenyu haitatusaidia. Nimeona watu wakiuliza itatupatia chakula, itatupatia madawa kwa hospitali, itatupatia nini? It is fair if you are listening to Kenyans crying from this cathedral.
Tungeomba utulivu na tungeomba watu watazamane kama wandugu na waone kama wao ni wa Kenya kwanza.
But Machakos leaders on their part have urged the church and the government to convene an urgent meeting to arrest the current political tension in the country.
The way to go is dialogue, and where it has reached, because we are seeing division from across the country.
In Kiambu, religious leaders have welcomed sentiments from Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua of calling truce and forgiveness to his boss, President William Ruto, and all political leaders, which will lower high-octane and divisive politics in the country.
Deputy President, you have done a good job. God bless you. You can call the spiritual fathers. We have the fathers, the spiritual fathers in our society, in our country, who can reconcile you so that our country can be able to go forward.
The Deputy President asked President William Ruto, Parliament, and the people of Kenya to forgive him alongside his spouse, Pastor Dorcas Rigathi, if they wronged anyone in the course of execution of their duties.
All right, those are just some of the reactions that other Kenyans had. And as far as the Deputy President's apology, which he issued yesterday from his official residence in Karen. Away from the matters to do with his apology, something bigger happened over the weekend. Last Friday, for the very first time, and this was unprecedented, Kenyans were asked to give their views with regard to the impeachment of a deputy president, which is happening for the very first time in our history. What came out is that Kufa Makanga, Kufa Dereva is still a top trending hashtag on social media as we speak. A lot may be said about the process of public participation. It has been a thorny issue for longer than just this case. Many people have always wondered, fine, how do you quantify or calibrate or even weight the results of public participation? So yes, Kufa Makanga, Kufa Dereva may have been or may still be trending, but how will the results of this public participation be weighted for it to be consequential enough for the motion of impeachment?
Fred, we are in a very difficult situation. And as leaders, whether the current elected leaders or those of us who served a long time ago, we are reaping what we have taught the young people are learning and continue learning from us. There are some English words that we should use. Thank you. Sorry, please. You know, the minute we keep on doubting that you are telling me please for what? I mean, this is the results of what we are seeing now. And this is why I don't want even to get into the area of whether the sorry was genuine or not. And you can get it clearly in the public participation. We also have departments that will listen to the ground. The ground amended. What my colleague here is talking about. They lost that bit of the motion. And it's like they were waiting for somebody to ask them a question and they get it out of their chest. And not only in the mountain, I had it across board. And therefore, this public participation gave the Wananchi an opportunity to get it out of their chest. Fortunately or unfortunately, it doesn't fit the script of the motion. Theirs is amended. How we ignore it is another issue. And there are a few areas where they said, okay, you want to impeach him, and a list of his many wrongs are listed. Those of you who got the list know it. And it's getting personal and ugly. I did hear say, so if he has stolen and now he has 5.7, give us a list of the others. And they are going ahead and telling you, so we know somebody like so-and-so have stolen A, B, C, D. The owner of the whole thing, he sold Adani, he sold, and it has lost the script. So the results, if the amendment taken by the citizens is put in consideration, there will be no motion in Parliament. If I were in their shoes, and to protect the image, I'm not going to say if it is there, but there's an image about a country. There's an image about the president and the deputy president and Parliament and all of them. I would recommend that they pull it out of Parliament. And now it is becoming like it is, pull it and give it back to the party. Like they all belong to the same party, and they have called us to be a part of their fight. But let mature leaders, not politicians only, who care about this country, help them both to get it out of where it is now, because it can be done, and try to do a thing that helps the country. It's messy.
Okay.
From where I sit, and I don't want to speak as a politician, but let all those who think that the country must win, not the deputy president, not the president, but lift the country, taking care of, I don't know, something has to be done, but I'm sure it is there.
Okay.
And one that I really believe is that it should be discussed outside Parliament.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, the cartoon on page 15 or 16, page 15 of the Daily Nation talks about this, and I think we have it also. My director can help me with that and put it on the screen. The cartoon on the Daily Nation has a very long queue of people taking part in this public participation, but the politician, on the other hand, already has a preferred opinion. Yes. So yes, many Kenyans may have expressed themselves, and we've seen this before, even with the housing levy. There was public participation. The MPs decided to still vote their own way. The finance bill of 2024, public participation was invited, and many people expressed their criticism. Yet MPs still went ahead and voted yes for the same finance bill. So do you expect anything different this time round? Or as the cartoonist puts it, the preferred opinion of the politicians will have will see the light of day?
Well, Fred, I am hoping that this time round the members of parliament will have exercise some good manners. Because on 25th June 2024, the year of our Lord, the Gen Zs actually transferred power to the people of Kenya when they took over parliament. So I'm hoping that because through God's grace, they have been given a second chance to return to that house that was taken over by the Gen Z, that they will not make the same mistake. Because if they do, in exercise of Article 1, where the sovereign power lies, it doesn't lie in Parliament, it doesn't lie with William Ruto, it doesn't sit with Rigathi Gachagua. Power, the power, sovereign power, sits with the people of Kenya. So we can only pray that they will not make the same mistake, because if they do, I can tell you, Fred, I fear for this nation. While my sister is talking about other options, including using the prayer warriors to pray, maybe the train has taken off. Because if you just read the mood of this country, you will realize that the president, with his team, bought a very huge guillotine machine, to get rid of Rigiji. Okay? And it is there. So it's a matter of time before he goes through the guillotine machine and is done. But they forgot that when the sovereign power lies with a different group of people, they also bought several guillotine machines. I don't know who they are going to start with, because it looks like the people are ready to behead fellows. So we are sitting in a fairly challenging time. But you see, I think the biggest issue I have is for this administration to try and use a political process to sanitize themselves using constitutional means. Okay? Why can't you be clean in this matter? Why can't you do it in a civil matter? They are now saying, okay, let us now go back to religious leaders. Let us, let us exercise caution, because this thing can send this country to a different direction. They had all that opportunity. Their last card, they had the last card, which was Parliament, to deal with these matters in a civil manner. But when they transferred it to the people now read this motion and they said, I think these guys are very untidy. And because these guys are untidy, we must have a fresh start. The people of Kenya have decided that it's not a matter of Rigiji, it's not a matter of William Ruto. They both are joined at the hip and they must go. This is a war between the poor, the hustlers, and the aristocrats and the bourgeois. Both William Ruto, Rigathi Gachagua, and to a large extent Parliament and the executive fit in that group of people, the bourgeois. That's why they don't feel anything. That's why they are not addressing the challenges facing the people of Kenya. Things like cost of living, they are forgotten. They even, I think to them, if we don't have bread, we can eat cake. And I agree for once that Rigiji and my senior brother alluded to that fact, that Rigiji is, and I've been saying this, that Rigiji is a very truthful man. And probably that's why he referred, in his statement, referred to the French Revolution of 1789. Okay? He was, I don't know who is reminding. I don't know who is reminding. But you know, during the French Revolution, things happen. Are we not headed towards that direction, that things may actually happen? For me, Fred, and from where I sit, the people of the Republic of Kenya passed a motion of no confidence in the administration of Kenya Kwanza. That was passed on Friday, and it was reaffirmed on Saturday.
Do you think that the political class anticipated that kind of outcome from the public participation?
You know, Fred, and allow me to paraphrase my late father-in-law, and may the Almighty rest his soul in eternal peace. He said, Fred, I have spoken. And even if you pretend you have not heard, I have spoken. You are a stone, I know, but I have spoken. So the people of Kenya don't care anymore. Okay, whether they have heard, whether the MPs have heard, whether President Ruto has heard, whether the Deputy President has heard, they have already spoken. They've spoken so loudly, they reaffirmed their position on Saturday, and they said what? We have passed a vote of no confidence in the Kenya Kwanza administration, and therefore, Kufa Makanga, Kufa Dereva. You both live and pack together. One should be packing his belongings, while I hope he packed over the weekend, Rigathi. He said his belongings and feet in a pickup. I don't know how many pickups the president will need, but they need to start packing.
All right. But Apogisio, this was meant to be a simple formality for the parliamentary process. The National Assembly, in fact, just pushed it so that they comply with the Constitution so as not to encounter any legal hurdles ahead. It turned out to be something totally different, more like a referendum on the performance of this administration. Does that change anything in as far as impeachment motion is concerned or any other politics going forward?
Fred, first of all, I'd like to extend my congratulations to Kenyans, because they have had an opportunity this weekend to do a quick referendum on the government and to actually put out their judgment. And I've always said, even on this platform, that we have a very angry nation. People are so angry that they are bottling up so much and they can't express it. So Friday and Saturday gave them an opportunity to express what they actually have been keeping inside their hearts, which is, you are wasting our time. We have more pressing issues. We have needs that you are not even dealing with. But we will tell you what we think of you. And as to your question about whether this was fair referendum and the results, let me tell you, the worst referendum, I mean the worst public participation, was the one which was held in Bomas of Kenya. If that is the way that all the others went, you're trying to impose on the people an opinion. So this cartoon is really almost accurate about Nairobi. And I saw very distinguished human beings, TJ Kajwang and his team, behaving in a manner that you would think they own this country. They don't know the Constitution. They don't know where the power lies, and beating up that young man called Marara and cheering on. I mean, did you see that? Cheering on. And Beatrice Alaji saying, Piga. I mean, what is that? Sincerely speaking, do you know someone can die right there? You know, once, if those chairs were all directed at that young man, a few of them could hit his head and he would die. That, I don't think anything will be done against those people, but I can tell you that the MPs had instructions to return a favorable opinion to impeach Gachagua. and they are responsible for those documents. You can see the papers, and they'll probably come and say, this is what the people said. But we heard the people ourselves. And there's no way you're going to change those things. So in some areas, and I gave the example of places where people are less educated, places like West Pokot or those places in the north, definitely everything will be manipulated to fit, because the people didn't come, and even if they came there, they will not understand what you're talking about, and they will not be keen to discuss it. Those guys have more pressing issues. So it's possible for the members of parliament that just come back with results. But in some places where the people participated, you heard it. Even when you tried to suppress them, the opinion was finally kufa makanga, kumfa dereva. The opinion was also that this is not the most important thing. I want to see the zeal with which we have done public participation in this case. I want to see development projects follow the same script. Let us see if it will follow. Yes.
Okay. A lot of questions have been asked about the process of public participation. This time around, you could see that even Kenyans, the interpretation they had was that by filling these forms, they would actually count, that these forms will be counted more or less like a vote, a ballot. That is probably the expectation many Kenyans have had. Public participation, despite the fact that it's provided for in the Constitution, has been a bone of contention for the last so many years. Do you think we can get it right? This time round, of course, members of parliament may say, fine, we still have our preferred opinion. But do you anticipate that we could get to a point where public participation really does matter?
Fred, public participation has been misused. We'll still get it and get it right. But from where I sit, there is one constituency I admired. The member of parliament was on a platform, and he was talking about the motion, and then he, of course, did his bit, and then asked a question to the public: do you want me to vote in favor or against? And the crowd from he was addressing shouted, no. That to me is a more sensible, from what my colleague is talking about that happened in Bomas. That was extreme drama. That, okay, for lack of a better word, it was activism in Bomas. But I did see other places where the members of parliament really wanted to gauge. And I also want to mention that there are areas where the member of parliament will not call a meeting, and when they call it, it will be towards 6 o'clock in some hidden corner, and invite his people, and they dramatize and do that kind of thing. And you are also able to know that that was for a commercial break. They know what the people have talked about. I am admiring the way Kenyans are expressing themselves. We've got other pressing issues. Why didn't you bring the Adani airport deal for public participation? Why? And therefore, the Kenyans are ahead of their leaders. They're ahead of their elected members of parliament. Even where my big brother there is talking about where people are not very educated, Kenyans know they are right. They may not express it in the Oxford English, na ile Kiswahili cha pwani, but if you listen to them, and we have genuine people listening to them, even as they speak in their mother tongue, they are weighty. They are talking about things, issues that members of parliament should be addressing. So we will get there. We still have not gotten there. But on this one, they got it wrong. Big time.
Right.
They got it wrong. And even to go inside there and say, my people, the way constituency this, and my people told me, they may and go and say, these are the forms I'm bringing, and you can see how they voted. But I will speak it from here. After they do what the ground, their constituencies voted, they have got no place to go. That is a fact. Yeah.
Looking at it politically, Bonakisia, and we got to sample especially the counties around Mount Kenya, and it was more or less unanimous. Kufa Makanga, Kufa Dereva. Of course, there are other pockets of the nation where probably the feelings were a bit different, but in as far as Mount Kenya was concerned, it was more or less a unison song. That begs the question, has William Ruto lost the mountain? And I'm asking this question because I can see there's a story on page 4 of the Standard. Removal motion, has Ruto lost the mountain? What next for deputy? But even away from his deputy, has William Ruto lost the mountain? Of course, it's been said that he's still keen, even with the exit of his current deputy, for him to retain the support base.
Our speaker comes from. But those people have voted against the decision made by their own parliamentarians. So what did MP Kalasinga decide to do? He said, I only carry one vote, and that vote I'm going to vote as you people have decided. So what you saw in Kapuchai is the mood across the country. There are pockets, I can tell you pockets, of areas where people still believe that Rigiji should go. And why is probably Rigiji, why does he seem to be receiving favor? It is because the timing of the motion is wrong. There are more pressing issues that people are facing. Cost of living, education, health, stealing of our public resources, Adani and what have you. And then you bring one small little thing called Rigiji. So you have annoyed fellows. So the timing, and I don't know whether these people really listen to NIS. The timing was absolutely incorrect. Then you look at one thing that can legitimize public participation is public awareness. Were people given time to interrogate, to understand what the motion is all about? Or are they allowed to vote through emotions? From where I'm sitting, I think people are voting through emotions. That you can't just sacrifice one Rigiji. After all, he's not the boss. If he has stolen, then the boss must have stolen much more. And even the MPs have stolen. So if it is about taking a decision, if it's about sending you through a guillotine machine, we are starting with the president, followed by the deputy president, followed by MPs, and all of them are going home. Now, let's get back to Mount Kenya. Mount Kenya, and our sister is here, and I can also say I'm part of Mount Kenya because my surviving mother is from Mount Kenya. So, and I talk to her, and I talk to people from Mount Kenya. They are very extremely unhappy. In the last 2 years, people in Mount Kenya suffered. Coffee is not doing well, tea is not doing well, their businesses have collapsed, they are being oppressed, they are feeling the pinch. And yet, they are the people who voted in the president. They gave him 47% of the vote. But they don't seem to be benefiting. If there are people from Mount Kenya who are benefiting, a handful of them. So, and that is why the people from the mountain, and I'm told they don't, I know, they don't speak loudly. They punish you at the ballot. So the mountain, as far as I'm concerned, has moved. And maybe just a blessing in disguise, it has completely moved. And probably that is why the president is trying and struggling, working very hard to get other numbers to fill the gap. Whether that will happen or not, I don't know. I would advise the president, because people keep on saying that we talk but we don't offer advice. I would advise him to stop politicking and deal with the issues that are affecting Kenyans. cost of living, you've not brought it down. You promised people to bring down the cost of living, still high. The education funding model that you've come up with is completely out of tune. People have rejected it. The health program, people have rejected. People have rejected all the programs that you've come up with. And therefore, Mr. President, you have become extremely unpopular. You have another 24 months to try and make amends. If you don't, the guillotine machine, from what I can see, is waiting for you.
Another question still on the same. Do you think that giving or returning the seat of Deputy President to Mount Kenya, if at all, Rigathi Gachagua will eventually be forced to move, that would be enough to appease?
It cannot appease these people. You see, it is not about giving one guy or one lady. I've heard names being thrown around. It's not about one guy. The mountains don't look at one guy. The mountain fellows, they want to do business. They want to feed themselves. They want to feed they want to thrive. So if you just reward one guy or one lady, you will even make matters worse. Yeah? So I would rather he deals with the issues that are affecting people and stop this reward business. It cannot work. Okay. If you are rewarding one person, that one person cannot have a positive impact on millions of Kenyans.
Okay. But Apugisi, I'd want you to consider issues to do with Bwana Gachagua's options. It's on the front page of the Daily Nation, Gachagua's last options. He appears to favor his chances before the courts of law. Now, considering what has happened with the public participation, we are informed that the courts on such a motion of impeachment, they make their ruling based on the process and not necessarily the weight of the allegations. In as far as the two issues that arise, one, whether the public participation process was conducted properly. Secondly, whether he received a fair trial before the National Assembly. Of course, when you talk about the National Assembly, there's an issue about the Speaker and his deputy both making declarations even before the motion is tabled in the House. Do you think the Deputy President is right that on those two issues he may have some relief in the corridors of justice?
Well, Fred, the Deputy President has already hired, if we may use the word, a very strong team of lawyers. And those things you're talking about are already being weighed in by the lawyers to see if the process was right. And just seeing from the public participation the other day, you could tell that there are very many areas where the legal team can actually poke holes into the process and say it didn't go as was supposed to be. And I think they will use the case of Nairobi, for example, and other places. Now the streaming of the results will be seen tomorrow. What are the results of the public participation? And you'll see that the people spoke this way, but if the results are going to be different, it's going to also become another issue that can be used against them. The issue of the statements and pronouncements of the Deputy Speaker and the Speaker have already been captured by the legal team, and I had one of them speak about it. So there are many options. There are many things that the focus will be on the process, and that's why when the government, the Parliament wanted to make sure they make it a watertight case, they introduced the whole idea of public participation, because it was usually used, in the process that you did not do public participation. So for the first time, we have seen this used in order to try and tighten the case to make sure that it's watertight. However, legal teams are busy looking at those options, but let me come back to our Deputy President, and he has the option, and one of the options that he has is to see from his legal team advice. Should he go through the process to the end? And what are the consequences of that? What are the safety nets of that? What is going to rescue him from being impeached That's one option. The other option is if you see that these people are really hell-bent on impeaching him and have used every way to cover themselves, then the other option is for him to resign, to fight another day. To resign is an option.
Would a resignation at this point stop the impeachment process, really? Because many people are questioning, saying the horse has already bolted, that even if you resign right now, the process is already underway.
Yeah, but it is a matter of public opinion now. If he resigns now and say, okay, I have seen I'm not getting justice in this thing, and I'm going to resign, he then has an opportunity with the people to say, yes, you fought a good fight, and we will continue to consider you as our leader. But if he stays to the very end and goes through the process and is condemned and therefore impeached, he has, of course, the pronouncement of an impeachment will come. But how he's projecting himself to the people is going to be different. One of the things that he did yesterday was to apologize. And that also carries a double meaning. For some people, he was showing weakness. For some people, he was showing strength, and so on and so on. Different opinions, by the way, on that. Some people would say he has bought fear, or they've sold fear to him, and he's now bought fear. No, but every chance that he has to make sure that his legal team can use opportunities like this, that was very important. It's a gesture for use in the process, that even our client is not as arrogant as you guys said. He's not this, he apologized. However, my biggest question is about the whole thing of where we're being brought into these things, which they're not petty. But if you know the man that is your leader has stolen money or done something illegal, and that impeachment, is a good process. But there are many other processes to deal with this thing. There are many laws and legal options left. So even if the president forgave him, for example, and declared that this impeachment be withdrawn, it is still possible to pursue him on crimes if he's a criminal. And that's what the law says, it's possible. But can we pursue everybody as a crime? Those who have committed crimes in this government? Because it's not the only one then who has done it. My fear was always, if a man in that stature, in the spotlight, could do all those things and nobody could stop him, then we are in the wrong country.
Okay.
I mean, if this country is really a country that stands in the rule of law, then there's nobody who should be above the law. So if in the process of his office he can do the things they say he did, which they're going to prove, then where were the institutions of this country that deal with those kind of things?
Okay.
And does that mean that we've given up on our fight against corruption, against theft, against all these things, so that now anybody can just leave this Kenya and actually do the things? I've seen the amounts in question. If anybody can do that, it means we have lost it. So it doesn't matter whether he's impeached. The country has to find a way of getting back to the rule of law. Okay. And I think that's where options are. So his options are not very many. His options right now would be agree to go through the process, fight legally, fight completely and to the end, or come in here in the middle and say, okay, you do what you want to do with the position, I resign, and I go back to the people. That I think those are his options. There may be a third option, but at this point I just look at those.
Okay, and we'll continue looking at his options. But Dr. Ngaru, I want to take you back to the issue of the mountain and whether or not it has really moved. And many will wonder, why would President William Ruto be willing to lose that chunk just to punish one person? Isn't it too high a cost for the president to pay simply for disagreeing with his deputy?
Fred, the president is not starting that process now. I'll take you back to programs that we have sat here and I said, he's done away with the mountain. It's something that has been going on slowly.
It was always part of the script.
Yeah, he's been doing it. And people from the mountain have been noticing it and keeping quiet. My colleague said even if he replaced with somebody from the mountain, it's not going to change the perception, or he will be accepted. It's almost a done deal. And I did mention to you that it's going to be a messy divorce. And from where I sit, and when I talk about an alternative way of handling it, I'm not talking just about prayers, like my younger brother here thinks that I'm talking that we should go fasting in the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights. It's not that kind of thing. I'm looking at an environment where the country wins. And when I talk about the country, it's because the two of them are leaders of this country. And when the legal teams, even in parliament, the good thing about parliament is you are allowed to talk about anything you want to talk about because you are protected. The legal teams also are arguing to prove a case. And I can tell you, we don't need to wait for them to prove how bad, how dirty any one of them is. And this is why I'm looking at an environment where this dispute between them, and they have invited the whole country to be a part of their mess, to be a part of their mess. If we had mature wazees and women, either religious or professionals, or I am sure this country has. And even if we don't have them, we've had situations in this country where people from outside the country have been invited to sit to leaders in the country to talk to each other in a closed environment. And we are almost there. So that by the time they emerge out of this controlled environment, the dirt that we know does not need to be confirmed to the rest of the public. If it's the deputy president, he will continue with his humility. And the president will also have known in a controlled environment that it's true you have lost favor with Kenyans, even those that are near you are not able to tell it to you. But we have listened, and this you are being accused of ABCD. We really don't have to take them through a bath in an open field. And this way the country will win.
Okay.
As we wait for the country to be given an opportunity to, I don't want to pass them through the guillotine, but give them an exit to go out of the positions of leadership that they occupy. And I can tell you, their fights have invited even my own party leader that there are people who are angry with my party leader that he joined to help a friend and he's losing the ground. And people keep on telling me Mumbi, are you telling your boss that he jumped into a pig pen, and as the pigs are roaring each other, the mud is being thrown at him? So you can see it's not a nice picture. We are all in it. But instead of cheering them, I would pray that an environment be created for them to go through a bath, for them to realize that the country is bigger than their fight.
Okay. But the question now is there time?
Yes, it's there. It is there. We only need a courageous person. Somebody talks about weakness. I believe the two of them are not weak. The problem is people who are cheering them on. The deputy president has a team. He's saying, oh, we are ready. These are I saw somebody with a file that big. And the other one is saying, you have the power, you have the sword. Na hiyo sword si ya kukata boga. Ya kudeal na watu. So if they surround themselves with people who are using that language, the country is the loser. That's my point.
Okay.
But I'm not a speaker. I once was, because during our time when you are the mayor, you are also the speaker. In wisdom, they can listen to what the country said, cushion the two of them, say, these two people belong to the same political party. Can we first send them to their party in the dispute resolution affairs? There's a committee that deals with that. And that's also a recommendation to get it out of parliament, out of the pen, the mud pen that they are dragging everybody. And lastly, to all of us Kenyans, this is not about us going to the mountain to pray, but it's important that we also hold back and not encourage the spirit of the anger in Gen Zs now is again rising.
Okay.
And we could have around 2 or 3, I don't know whether it will be 3 or 2, where the Gen Zs, now in more angry than before, may bring this country down.
Okay.
And for me, I don't think that's the direction we should take.
Bonakisia, there was a lot of talk about how religious leaders could come in and help in this situation, talk to the two leaders, but we're counting hours now. Tomorrow, the National Assembly is sitting from as early as 9 a.m. to consider this matter. Time is running out. Do you think, or do you hold any hope that something could happen in this intervening time?
Fred, miracles do happen.
Yeah.
What kind of miracle are you saying could happen?
But in this case, the intervention of our religious leaders should have come much earlier. Before this motion was taken to the people of the Republic of Kenya. Now, the people of the Republic of Kenya, in exercise of Article 1, have passed a motion. They have amended the motion that was presented to them. So the only legitimacy you can give any other action that comes after the people have amended that article is going back to the people. What the people have said is that they want a referendum. What the people did on Friday, on Saturday, was to pass a censure motion against the president. They passed a vote of no confidence. So religious leaders, who I respect profoundly, will come in or are coming in too late. They should have come in a bit earlier, unless they are saying that the President of the Republic of Kenya has stopped listening to religious leaders. Now, I want to comment a bit of what my brother said in terms of options. What other options does Rigiji have? Rigiji has many other options available to him. The first one is bring down the whole thing. If the thing is crumpling, let it crumple with you. and him. Okay? So he has a lot of intelligence. He has a lot of information that he has been guarding and protecting his boss. This is the time that he can come up with that information to the public and share that information. That information, I suspect, is so lethal to the extent that if shared with the public, this administration may not last for even 48 hours. The other option, since it appears that the National Assembly could have been compromised, may have been compromised, okay? Because how do you pass judgment even before you give the other party time to, you don't even listen to him. 291 members of parliament passed this motion. They supported the motion. So what will make them change? They have already passed judgment against men. So I'm hoping that the Senate, which in my view has people with reasonable knowledge and ability to interrogate this matter and look at it on merit basis, okay, without party affiliation. So again, he has very good lawyers, Senior Counsel Mwite. If that team presents and prosecutes that matter properly, I see Senate, which has a lot of legal minds, overturning any decision that could have been made by the National Assembly. Finally, Fred, we have the courts. The last defense we have. The courts. The courts have proven over time that they're independent. Rigi G should not stop. If I were him, advising him, in any event, people are saying, oh, in case the motion is passed, then you never hold public office. Who said you'll die if you don't have public office? If I were him, I will fight for justice. I will prosecute the matter until the Supreme Court. Okay. But he has one favor. The people of the Republic of Kenya on Saturday, last Friday and Saturday, amended the motion as presented by Parliament, and now the motion reads, the President of the Republic of Kenya and the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya are a pair and must go home together.
Okay. Final parting shot, Bwana Pogisio.
Well, thank you. I mean, this is a very difficult situation for both men. It's actually difficult for the president as much because he must also be weighing his options. The possibility of having a very disgruntled region called the Mountain and losing the vote there, and also now you can see the way I read that he's begun to lock out his friends. It's not possible to access him now. It's a difficult thing. You have to go through a process. I don't know whether that is so that nobody convinces him or so that he doesn't want to hear anything and comment on this matter. The option of the Senate is a very, very good option for the Deputy President. If the Senate remains what I know is a Senate today, where people use if they use, for example, delegates, then the threshold required is it's a bit small to block whatever is going. It's smaller than if they went all 67 of them or 67 of them to vote. So I'm hoping that the Senate will be a place of reason, a place where they would use, because that's not primarily what they do. The Senate actually is not primarily that's what they do as a secondary court of justice, literally. And so there they can behave like a court of appeal. They can behave like a place where the people who have lost down at the other house can actually find recourse. And so that's what I hope. So he has a chance there. He has a very good opportunity to convince the Senate about all the processes, how the process went. But finally, I think Kenyans have been treated to this thing for such a long time. It's torturous to Kenyans. We feel like we might actually be losing during this time when our direction is being diverted, we might be losing other things. And let's come back, hope for the best for this to be resolved. My hope is that the president and his deputy will have an opportunity to look each other in the eye and say this is not necessary, what we have taken ourselves through. I hope so. But it may be late, but I hope at some point that can come out. The president is the only one, as I said, apart from the Senate, who can now either stop this thing, call his people and say don't vote for it, or kufa makanga, kufa dereva. And I think that is, I think the team that has been put together, and the president also has his team, but the team that's been together by Gachagua is a very strong team, and I think they can help him in the courts, apart from in the House. Okay. Tuesday, we'll see that team. Tuesday night, I think Tuesday evening, we'll see that team at work. Okay. So if the president has not done anything between now and then, and I've said before that the camaraderie in the presidency was always a problem, where his friends speak as though they were presidents as well. Now he has decided he's going to be strict with them. No pronouncements, no nothing. I hope that he's using this opportunity to consider something very big, and I hope soon we'll see it.
Thank you so much. I only have about 60 seconds, so just a parting shot, Dr. Ngaru.
Fred, from where I sit, let's not be very legal, but pray for courage and wisdom so that we are not stuck as a country in this process. Whether parliamentary or court process, we are stuck. All of us, including you, we are all stuck in it. And we are wounding each other. Okay. And it is not healthy for the country. Let Kenyans who care about this country pull the two aside. Pull it out of parliament, pull it out of the legal teams, brains and good minds, and sort this thing outside.
Thank you so
those
much.
Two areas.
Kenyans smell the coffee. These are diversionary tactics to draw your attention off Adani, this rudimental education model, funding model, this bad health insurance arrangement. Kenyans smell the coffee. Okay. This is about your resources. You divert attention, you lose focus.
All right. Thank you so much, Bwana Philip Kisia, leadership and governance expert, and also former town clerk, Nairobi. Bwana Samuel Pogisio, who served as ICT minister in the Kibaki II administration, also served as Senate Majority Leader, and Honorable Dr. Mombing Ngaru, who served in the East Africa Legislative Assembly and also as Thika Town Mayor. Asanteni sana for your time at TV47. The big discussion definitely is about the Deputy President with that looming impeachment. We're only counting hours to Tuesday when Parliament, the National Assembly, will sit down, and probably later in the day the Deputy President will get time to defend himself before the same House. That